Good morning. Today we're going to be hippies. We're going to get into these hips, get them engaged, and get them stretched. This is for a lot of us, especially as women, this is right here in the area that is the center of our mass. So our hips do a lot to support us and to help counterbalance all the fun things that we like to do with our bodies. So good thing to make sure that they're strong and agile. All right, let's start with our pranayama, our breathing exercise. And for today, let's see, let's imagine that the breath could go all the way down the spine. Could you take that breath all the way down the tailbone and notice what happens when you start thinking about that? The whole area starts loosening up. And then exhale all the way back up and out. And we'll simply watch, our pranayama exercise will be to watch the breath go all the way down and watch the breath go all the way back up and out. And come back to the natural breath, just feeling it flow down to the diaphragm and then back up and out. Feel this area of the body where the diaphragm is expanding and contracting. And see if you can bring a lot of awareness to that muscle, the diaphragm. Feel it trying to contract, to push down, pulling air in and letting it back out. Feel the back of the rib cage as you take those deep breaths in. And then we'll start to shift that lower portion of the rib cage left and right. Front to back. And around in a circle. Other direction. And we're going to change that up. Instead of thinking of the middle of the rib cage going around a circle, we're going to be very long through the spine and think of the head going around in a circle. And what I'd like you to do is reach far enough with your torso that you're starting to feel engagement all the way around, feeling a little stretch, feeling a little contraction to keep you from falling over. And the other direction. And back to center. Let's take these knees up. We'll get the hips a little more warmed up. So take the feet a little wider than the hips. Little windshield wiper the knees left to right. I know we do this one a lot, but it just is a great warm up for the low back and the hips. While we're here, let's warm up those hands. So take them behind you and start to pad the ground. Feeling the wrists and the fingers. Plant those hands, palms down with the fingertips pointing towards your tail, and lift your heart. Probably feeling this now in the biceps, in the front of the shoulders, maybe the chest, maybe the wrists. If it's too much for your wrists, feel free to bend your elbows. That's going to push the stretch more into the front of the shoulders, and that's okay. And then we'll play with this. We'll point our elbows as far back as we can, and they're trying to go straight back. Try not to let them go out wide like chicken wings. So we've got them pointed back as far as they'll go, and then lengthen them again, lift the heart. Take it back and forth. Perfect. Let's take these legs cross at the ankle. Doesn't matter which one's in front. We'll just switch in a minute anyway. Lengthen out the spine. So think of pointing that tail a little bit out and down, and reach your belly button over your lap. We're going to keep the spine long. So if sitting tall like this is a really big challenge and leaning forward is just impossible without curling up, you can take and put a little bit of lift under your tail. Maybe you sit on a towel, a bolster, a pillow, but allowing yourself to lean forward and allow gravity to help you, even if that means loosening the angle of our hips to do it, is worth it to let gravity help you in this stretch. And now allow yourself to round, allow the forehead to come down. Bring it on up. Cross the ankles the other way. Chances are this is the way that feels a little funny because we don't do it as much. So let's take an extra minute here. We'll take one arm stretch up and over. I want you to focus on that low waist and hip area. So try and press that buttock down, reach the rib cage in the opposite direction. And you'll find that if you roll it around a little bit, you'll get all sorts of different fun stretches. Some maybe not so fun. And the other side. Again, we will lengthen out the spine, tip that navel forward over your lap. Keep the spine long for now. And then let yourself round forward into your lap. And bring it on up. All right, let's take the feet a little wider than the hips. So about as wide as your mat, maybe a little wider if you have wider hips. And I want you to go ahead and use your arms whatever way works for you to think about pulling your navel straight forward. It's kind of like a sitting happy baby pose. Knees are coming towards the armpits or past them, depending on your flexibility. And let that go. Bring those legs back together. We're going to take one leg, set it on the other knee. It kind of looks like you're just kicking back. And then we're going to engage the spine, pressing the navel forward again. So we've made this kind of triangle with our legs. We're going to try to push our navel right through the center of the triangle. If this is uncomfortable on your knee, try flexing your ankle here. Oftentimes that takes care of it. I'm going to really point my tail into the floor. And to increase the stretch here, I'm just inching my lap closer to me by pulling this leg closer and pushing my navel further in towards the center as well. You can take it a little bit to one side. And the other side. Some great stretches to be had in both directions. And let's switch. Flexing the ankle as needed. One more way to increase the stretch is to slide the ankle from closer to your knee to closer to your hip. For me, one of my knees is okay with that and one of them doesn't appreciate it much. So listen to your body. Take it a little to one side. And the other. it go. Go ahead and wiggle out those legs a little bit. And then bring them back to where they were. We're gonna plant those hands back down on the ground and do some tabletops. Press down through the arches of the feet. Imagine squeezing a ball between your thighs. Those thighs don't even have to touch. Just engage your muscles like you're trying to squeeze a ball between them. And let it go. We'll take it up. And down. One more time. Now you can keep doing those just like that, or we can go back to our figure 4 position and do it from here. Now the knee that is supporting me, the one that has the foot down on the ground, I'm going to make sure that it's reaching in the same direction as my toes and not going off to the side. If you're doing it with one leg, let's switch legs. Excellent. Stretch those legs out in front of you. Press your heels away. Stick your tail out back. I'm going to actually kind of pull my tush flesh out behind me to help me tip that tail even further. I'm going to bring my navel forward towards my knees. And let that go. Lay down on your side. We're going to bend our knees. Do whatever's comfortable with your head. But I've got my hips and knees bent at right angles. And I'm going to keep my pelvis as still as possible. So if you want to grab your hip, make sure you're grabbing your pelvis and not the hip joint, right? Because we're going to want the femur to move. We're going to move the leg up and down. Change it up a bit. We're going to keep the feet together. Open and close, just the knee. Really push against it. See how wide you can go. All right, then a funny one. We're going to bring this top knee down to the floor. And we're going to try to get our shin as vertical as possible without holding it. So that's a little bit harder. As vertical as possible without holding it. And then we're going to lift our knee off the ground, making sure that we stay as vertical as we were to start. So whatever angle you were at in the beginning, you're not going to get more horizontal. And if you have, that means you've gone a little bit too high. And let it go. If that hurt a lot, that's totally normal because we don't use that muscle very often in daily life. We're going to do a big combination one this time. We're going to open up like the first one. Put put that toe down on the ground as close to the tail as you can get it and push down. Now stretch the leg up as far as it'll go and reach it away. So it's going completely in the opposite direction from my head. I'm in a straight line from my head down through my hips to my toe, and then bring the knee back to the beginning. Open, press down, stretch up, reach away. You can play with that. Does your foot want to be flexed? Does it want to be pointed? You'll get different things out of each. Wonderful. Knee to knee. Let's rotate the spine so our shoulder blades are on the mat. Our chest is looking up at the sky. Get a good twist here. Chances are those muscles that we've just been working on are talking to you about how tight they are. We'll give them a second to stretch out and calm down. And then bring your knees to your chest and roll your hips to your back as well. So your spine is no longer twisted, knees are up. And we're going to think of pushing our low spine into the mat. And when we push the small of our back into the mat, it makes our tail pop up a little bit. So I want you to feel that miniature crunch. So exhale right here. Release and breathe in. Release and breathe in. If you'd like to add a little bit more to this, stretch your heels to the ceiling and actively try to push your heels up to the ceiling a little bit further by pressing your belly button down towards your spine. Excellent. Let's take a happy baby pose. Bring those knees towards your armpits. Hands go to your ankles or feet. Excellent. Let that go. You can either just roll to the second side. I'm going to flip around so that I can see you on the second side. But we're going to go back to those leg exercise positions, 90 degrees at the hips and knees. Head relaxed wherever that might be. We'll open and close. Just as a reminder, our pelvis is not moving. All right, ankles together. We'll open just the knee. we'll take the knee, top knee, point it down. Ankle, get it as above the knee as possible. And lift. And let it down. Let's do that combo one. Keeping the pelvis still. We're gonna open, touch down, stretch up, reach out. Take a check and look at your leg down there and make sure that you are in a straight line. It's very common to have that leg a little bit forward, and then we're not getting everything that we could be out of that. So let's just make sure we're in a really long line before we return to the beginning. And return those knees. Big twist here, shoulder blades to the floor. And roll to the back. All right, we're going to do a bridge or plow or candlestick. So I'll walk you through those options. If you know and love one in particular, feel free to just go for it right now. But we've got a bridge, which is feet down, roll the tail up, pressing down through the feet, squeezing the thighs towards each other like we did with the tabletop. Chest comes up towards the chin. This is your bridge. For a plow, come on back down. If you like a bridge, you can go up and down from bridge, or you can hold it, or you can even do figure 4 bridges if you want to play with that. For your plow, you can get into it from a bridge if you know how, or the easiest way to get into it is to do a little rolling motions. We've got that pressing the belly button towards the spine feeling that we had earlier. We're going to bring this lap up and over our head. Once you're in a plow, there is a little bit of weight on your neck and head. So once you're in it, you're not going to look left and right. If you want to check out what I'm doing or see something else, come out of it before you move your head. But as much weight as possible runs across the shoulder blades. So a plow traditionally has straight legs with your toes touching the ground. There's an option which is knee to ear, so that's bent legs. That's going to get out of your hamstrings and really just rounding this spine more. So decide what is your focus today. You can do this hands on your back or hands on the floor, completely up to you. If you want to do a candlestick, we're going to bend at the knees. I'm going to support my back, but you don't have to. And you're going to press those toes right up into the air, lengthening out the body towards the sky. Whatever pose you're working on, come on down. We'll end up back here on your mat with your knees up. We'll take our feet about as wide as our mat and windshield wiper left to right. One more time with our happy baby pose, hands to ankles or feet, bringing the knees towards the mat. And you can play and explore with this too. Maybe the feet come together, or maybe they come towards your nose. Maybe the heels go towards the hips. Or you can play with a straddle. And let it go. And rock and roll your way on up to sitting. We'll hop up to our hands and knees. And go back to the middle of the rib cage, circling. Circle the other direction. Excellent. Let's take our right shin forward and our left foot back. And I really want to stretch out the hip flexors here. So I'm going to do that by coming up to the ball of my foot on my toes back there and pressing down through the foot to lift my knee. Feel free to adjust and squirm. There's some different angles in here to be had. And yes, it is work to keep that knee off the ground. Perfect. Let's straighten out the front leg too and bring it forward. So both sets of toes are facing forward, and I'm gonna shimmy with my hips. Notice how that makes the front foot kind of rock around. I want to keep my foot as flat as possible. All right, and then settle into it. So your front hip is going to go back, your left hip is going to go forward. My back heel is really reaching for the floor, as is my front arch. You could be feeling a lot of things here. Could be in the ankle, in the foot. For me, I'm feeling a lot in the hamstring because those are just really tight on me lately. All right, let's step back down to hands and knees. We'll bring our second shin forward. Lift up the back knee. Stretch out the hip flexors. So that back knee is coming up to help me stretch, and also I'm thinking of pulling in my low belly as much as I can, right? Because there is an arch to my back, but I'm trying to lift my rib cage up and away from my hips. And let's go to our pyramid, tail in the air. Front foot on the ground, nice and flat. Let's rock through the hips. And let it settle. Bring your back hip forward, your front hip back. Keep pressing down through those feet. All right, instead of hands and knees, we're going to step forward. Feet as wide or a little wider than your mat. And we're going to drop our hips down in the middle. All right, so really deep squat. We've been warming this up all day in little bits with our baby pose type things. Think about pulling the navel and heart forward, lengthening the spine. I'm using the pressure of my hands to let my elbows help my knees go wider. And then lengthen the tail up towards the ceiling, forward fold. It is a wide leg forward fold. Think about drawing your top of your head down to the floor. And back down. We'll do this a few times. Come all the way down, deep squat. And and then wide leg forward fold. All right, we're in this wide leg forward fold, but it's not very wide, is it? So I'm actually gonna turn to the side so that I don't slip on the wood floor. And I'm gonna make this a little bit wider. Wide enough that when I lean forward, I feel a little bit of the inner thigh stretch. Still feeling a lot of hamstring, still feeling some ankle stretch, but starting to get inner thigh too. And now widen those feet to where that inner thigh stretch is most of what you feel. Bring yourself up, walk those feet back together just a little bit. Reach on over and get cozy with one leg. Get cozy with the second leg. Back to the middle. Pull your heels in towards each other enough that you can deep squat. Bring the hands to the knees or the heart. Press down through the feet, lift you up. Tuck your tail enough, feel a stretch in the front here. Take it down. And up. We'll do one more. All right, this time we're just going to go down, bending these knees. We're gonna fold forward, and we're gonna see how close we can get our head to the floor with the knees a little bent. Feel free to use your elbows. If your knees tend to come in towards each other, your elbows can help them go out again. But I'm really trying to get my head right down to the floor between my heels. Let it go, come all the way back up. And straighten those legs. All right, we stretched out the shoulders a little bit earlier. We're gonna stretch them out a little bit more now. Get your feet a comfortable distance apart so that you're not feeling any stress in a squat. Bring the hands back behind you. interlace the fingers, grab a finger, grab a yoga strap, whatever you need to do to be able to get your arms down long behind you. For my hypermobile elbow babies, let's make sure not to hyperextend. We want to keep a soft bend in there. Soften the knees for a little balance. Round yourself forward, and we're going to lift those hands. The further I fold forward with my hips, the more gravity can start to help me pull the arms even further forward over my head. I want to pull my ears and my shoulders in opposite directions. And bring it all the way back. All right, so I've been warming you up all day for one move in particular that I almost never teach, but I thought it'd be fun. It's called turtle. We're gonna hop down on the floor. And we'll just start right here. Think about pulling your torso in between